Hey everyone, my name's Kristen and this is Ashley.
Hey everyone.
And welcome to our podcast, Send Noods.
And it's not a food podcast. So Kristen, do you want to tell everyone how we picked this name and why do we even start this podcast?
Yeah, I think with the name, I just thought it was really funny just because we are both Asian girls and we always eat ramen all the time.
Because we're poor.
Yep. And we don't know how to cook, but that's another thing. Okay, so I guess with starting the podcast, I know that I always wanted to do social media, especially when I was younger. I always wanted to start a YouTube channel, but I never ended up doing that.
I started a blog freshman year of college, which is so cringy, but then I X'd that out after a month, so.
Yeah, I know, because the thing with me wanting to start a YouTube channel, I didn't want people to judge me or
Oh, I didn't tell anyone.
Yeah, but I feel like with YouTube, I don't know. I just didn't want anyone, not my friends, but the world, because I feel like when you put yourself out there, YouTube, it's really easy for people to find it, and people, they can just be they're weird. So, yeah, I guess with this podcast, I feel like we're just talking on a mic, so it's not as bad. But anyways, I remember texting Ashley and complaining because we both just graduated college and we don't know what we're doing with our lives, especially with it being 2020 and we're living through a pandemic. We just wanted a side hustle and to do something together.
So we've always just always joked about it. Kristen sent it in a text and I'm yeah, we should, ha ha ha, but nothing was really serious. I think it took maybe 2-3 months before I actually was okay, let's do it. And it was because I went to grad school and I was so bored. I moved 2 weeks before class started and I just didn't know what to do with my life. I was in a new area by myself with nothing to do. So I really texted Kristen. I'm we gotta start.
Yeah. And we were teasing this for such a long time, but we never actually, got ready to do it. But yeah, here we are now.
And then we did our research, we bought our mics, we watched our YouTube channels.
Yeah. We watched some videos. We're here. Okay. It's September, first week of September, so finally got to it after a couple months. So I guess since this is the first episode, we should just do a little intro about each other. I'm from Connecticut.
I'm from Rhode Island, which is the smallest state, not an island of New York.
No, that's Long Island.
No.
But we both went to University of Connecticut, and we just graduated in May. I guess we both met sophomore year when we joined a sorority.
The same sorority.
Yep, the same sorority. You want to talk about how we met?
This is such a sad story, at least for my part. Okay, so I didn't go out with the new sisters the first 2 weeks because I had exams and everything. So finally, one of the sisters was oh, I'm having a party. Does anyone want to come? And no one answered. Everyone already had their friend group by this point, and Kristen was the only one that answered back. And so we went together. Kristen brought Twisted Teas. I remember chugging that down the elevator because we were so afraid to run around campus with that in our hands, obviously.
Yeah.
And so we went to this girl's party, and it was a very small party.
It was in an apartment. And we get there and it's all close friends that know each other, and we just met. And we just met the girl too.
We didn't know the girl. And so we went in, said hi, and then left, and we ended up going to a different party instead.
Yeah, but I think I want to point out when no one answered in the group chat about oh, I'm having this party, and some people were yeah, and I was oh yeah, I know Ashley was yeah, what time do you guys want to meet? No one answered that because everything.
So
I think everyone was kind of oh yeah, that sounds good, but they weren't actually gonna go because it was just a little house party. Because I think everyone wanted to go to the frat parties.
Everyone already had their friend group. Okay, I didn't go out with everyone.
Well, I don't know if that's Well, yeah, people went out the first few weeks, but I feel people just didn't want to go to a little house party type of thing. So I remember when no one.
We were new sisters. Like, we just wanted to go
Yeah, but
out,
I wanted to meet more people. So I remember, like, when you were like, "Oh, what time do you guys want to meet?" No one answered. I felt so bad because I originally said, like, "Yeah, that sounds fun."
Oh, pity friend. This is how our friendship started.
Yeah, so I felt really bad. So I was like, "Oh, like, let's meet at 10." And you're like, "Yeah, sounds good." So then we like met each other at like the steps of like our dorm because we lived next to each other. So yeah, that was a little funny thing. Okay. So I get, and then after that, we would always see each other at chapter and sit next to each other, or we would go to get dinners together before every chapter. But I feel like the one thing that made us such close friends is that we both were science majors, and like being Asian and being a science major is especially bonding, especially because we both hated it. And how
we complained so much, like you don't understand how much we hated our old major.
But I feel like because we're both Asian, and I mean, yeah, in my case, like my parents were like, "You're gonna be a doctor," like growing up, and every time they're like, "Oh, are you studying? Like, you're gonna be a doctor? You're gonna be, like, you want to be a pediatrician?" I'd be like, "Yeah, I want to be a pediatrician," even though I
wanted to be a pediatrician.
I think everyone wanted to be one.
I told everyone in my family that I was going to be a doctor, so like I had to.
Yeah, but in my case, I was just like pleasing everyone because I said this my whole life. So if I just stop saying that I want to be a doctor, then it's like, what? Like, what happened? Like, you know?
And I feel like also being Asian, you either go the science route or like the business route. And my dad like put his foot down. He didn't want me to go into business at all. So like I had to go science, and like I actually did want to be a doctor, so it wasn't that big of a deal. But like sophomore year, like Orgo kicked my ass. That's when I decided like med school's not for me.
Yeah, I think like the first couple years of college really weeds out everyone who can't or feels like they can't make it. I think like being like doing Orgo, like doing biochem really made me think like, oh, I'm not cut out for this. Even if, that's not the case, I feel like really discouraged about like seeing like, oh, the only people who get into med school are like that have 4.0s and like have all this shadowing experience and have like perfect MCAT scores. So I felt very discouraged. And I think,
well, you lasted longer than I did. Like you didn't even you told me you didn't want to go pre-med like sophomore year, but you still kept up with Oreo 2 and biochem.
Well, that was my major.
Okay, yeah, I guess. I stopped after Orgo 1. I was like, there's no way in hell I'm going to continue any of this.
Yeah, I think I just wanted to like continue, and my parents kept being, yeah, like you're gonna be a doctor, and I kind of just like, yeah, even though like I knew I wasn't going because I like it was just so much work, and I just was very discouraged. It was, and we always complained to each other about how we hated our lives and how we hate, especially the senior year, like we really hated being science majors.
Hell no.
Because I think when you're senior year, it's when you apply to grad school, you apply to med school, like you actually have to figure out what you're doing with your life because you're about to be an adult in like 2 months.
And like being a science major, you're kind of, I don't know, I wouldn't say limited, but like as a like bio or like any like science-y major, you either go the doctor route and like become an MD, or you have to go the research route and get your PhD. And we didn't want to do either. Like Kristen she had like research experience like as an undergrad, and like she didn't like that, and I just saw how much she like hated it, and I was still on the fence of what I wanted to do. Like this is gonna sound so like terrible, like I wanted to be a doctor, but I didn't want to go through all of that.
Yeah. I think that's
like it
relatable.
It weeded me out, and like college was such a reality check because I was like that stereotypical like perfect kid. Like I was like one of the top kids in my class. I was a good athlete, and like everyone just assumed I would do like big things. And then I remember going to bio 1107 the first semester of freshman year, and it scared the shit out of me, and I realized that I'm actually really stupid and that I couldn't do this.
I think like with me too, I remember going to like bio on the first day or the first week and sitting next to all these people, and everyone would be like, yeah, like I took AP bio, I took, you know, AP this, AP that, like I was like everyone would just brag about themselves. And
I was
it's the
that
first
kid.
it's the first time when you're
I was second in my class.
okay, well, yeah, I didn't do that, but I think college is the first time when you're with a lot of smart people, because in high school, like, you know,
You're
my school is really small, so
yeah, you're a big fish in a small pond. And I always told everyone, like, I felt like a damn guppy in the ocean, and I'm like,
yeah,
I'm not actually that smart. I'm like, why didn't someone tell me to be humble and that I'm not actually that great?
yeah, it's definitely eye-opening, especially when you go first to college, because
When
everyone's
you
so
fail
smart around you.
your first exam, that, like, I remember I almost cried because, like, I've never gotten anything below like an A minus my entire life, and then getting that like first 64, I was like, are you kidding me? But then senior year me, and I'm like, oh yeah, like we got a 60. You kind of become immune to it, which I don't want to like scare people, but like it's a harsh reality check that I feel like people need. I think it's better if you realize that in high school instead of being like me, like in college. Like I hated college freshman year. Like I've never felt more like dumb in my life.
Yeah, I agree. It's very eye-opening, and I think it's hard to prepare for it, because when you're in high school, you think you're hot shit, and then you go to
and you realize that college. Everyone has the same perfect grades as you. Everyone did the same activities. They're all president of their class, and you're like, wow, you're not that special.
And everyone wants to be a doctor, so it makes you feel everyone, like especially being a bio major, it's either, everyone says, especially freshman year, everyone's like, yeah, I'm pre-med. So of course you're gonna be like, yeah, I'm pre-med too.
And like the sad, like it's not a sad thing, but like our school wasn't, I mean, it's considered a medium-sized school. Like it was pretty big, but like imagine going to those even like bigger schools and like competing with kids. I think our biggest lecture hall was 500 people, something like that. Like that's, I feel like that's not even that big.
Yeah, I guess to go back to the two paths, since I like realized that I was not going to med school, so you can't really do anything with a science, like a biology degree, if you don't go to med school. So the other thing you would have to...
Can I interrupt for a second?
Yeah.
We also, like, it's so hard to get an internship or to get experience because they want you to have experience. You know? Like, how do I get experience if no one gives me experience? Like, Kristen got lucky with, like, her, like, research jobs. Like, they just took a chance with her. But I remember we were both complaining, like, we were fixing our resumes, we were applying to all these positions, but everyone said, like, oh, you need, like a 3.5 science GPA, you need, like, 2 years of experience. But we're like, well, I'm a sophomore, like, how do I get experience?
Yeah, I think if I want to give anyone advice, if you're, like, young and going to college, definitely start looking when you're young. Like, when you apply, like, research positions and you're a freshman, they want you, even if you don't have any experience, they will most likely take a freshman who isn't, like, no experience than, like, a junior with no experience, because you're young and you could stay and work at the lab longer and learn. So I think one of the things, it was hard for us to find internships or like research is because it was way too late. Like we were already juniors, and we were leaving in 2 years.
Yeah, we were discouraged freshman year. We're like, oh, no one's gonna hire us because we had no experience. No,
but also
wrong, incorrect. Like
I will say, freshman year, we're not thinking about that stuff. We're like freshmen. We want to we want to go out. We want to make friends.
It's your first taste of freedom.
Yeah, I was not thinking about, oh my God, I need an internship. I need to start getting research for, med school, grad school, whatever. And then it's not until like junior year you realize, oh my God, I have no experience. How am I going to get a job? How am I going to apply to grad school without any, experience?
Like, I don't want to put pressure on freshmen. It's like, you don't. Like, you have time. If you don't know what your major is, you want to go undecided, like, that's fine. However, you're definitely going to have to spin your story junior year or sophomore or junior year of, like, why you deserve that position over a freshman. Like, you definitely have to play to your strengths. Like, or if you have a job at home, like, you have to relate how that job is to, like, that research job.
Yeah. So I think I got a couple of research positions. I got lucky. I think one of them was also because one of the girls in my sorority worked at this lab. So then she was like, oh, anyone need a position, like needs research.
Oh my god, yeah, I was gonna apply too, and then like 5 girls like responded back. I'm like, oh shit, never mind. Like they're all smarter than me.
I mean, I think you should have applied because I applied and then I got they spoke highly of me, so then I got the position, and then it led to more internships, so I got lucky with that.
You just need that one.
Yeah, you need one person to take a chance on you, because after you get one chance, and then it'll just build.
It's like a snowball effect.
Yeah. So I think,
and that's not just research. That's for any job,
anything. And
because
if you're in business,
I never worked. Yeah, I never worked in my life until I got to freshman year, and my mentality was either do like a club sport or get a job. And it just happened that I got hired before tryouts even happened, so I was able to work. But like ironically now, my bosses weren't going to hire me because I had no experience. I was a freshman, but I don't know what it was. They really took the chance on me, so thank God they hired me.
I think it's because you were a freshman, because you could stay for 4 years. And that's what really they're looking for.
Even though I knew nothing about the school and everything, but I was able to get that job. And because of that job, I got like another internship over the summer. Now when I apply to jobs, my resume isn't empty. So it's just that first one that really sucks.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, but I wanted to go back and talk about, the two sides of being like science majors. So if you go to med school, that's one side. Obviously, that's like half the world who's a science major is going to go or try to go to med school. So the other half is, research. And it's really tricky, because what if you don't like research? Then what do you do with your degree? And I think when I had my, research experience in college, it was fine. I could do it. I liked it, but I couldn't see myself doing that for the rest of my life.
How many times we went to the bar and she would just complain like, I hated work today. Like I
would text Ashley and be like, I was like by myself in the lab in the basement for 3 hours just by myself. Like I can't do this if it's gonna be my life.
You're like, they wanted me to run this reaction, do this. You're like, I don't know how to do this. I'm like, bitch, you think I can help you?
Yeah. So I think I was like, oh my god, like why did I wish I never wanted to be a science major, because if I'm not going to med school, like it's really a dead end if you don't want to do research. Because so we graduated recently, and I think before graduation I was like, what am I going to do? I don't know. I like being a science major, you can't really get a good job out of college without having a master's degree or like a grad school. You need higher education. So it was really stressful when I didn't know what I was going to major in for grad school, so that was kind of out, because I didn't want to waste my time and like pick a random major for grad school and not even like it and like spend all this money. I wasn't really ready to maybe go get my PhD, because that's a big time commitment.
I didn't think I would get I was smart enough to get into it either.
I didn't think that either. So I think that I was like, I have to like work for a year or two and figure everything out. So I got a job in
like, we're not saying like you are as a science major, you're not just limited to that. Like you can spin it another way. Like I know at one point you wanted to go to get your master's in like healthcare administration or something. Like you can go like the businessy side of it. You can go the psychology side. Yeah. It's hard getting a job, because if you're going for healthcare administration, they're gonna be like, do you have any business? Like
where's your business
classes?
Yeah,
like, even though you know the science of it, can you do the other side? So that's one thing I do regret not getting like a major or another minor like in a different field.
Yeah, because combining that would definitely help, especially being like biology. Like you're not just limited to research. And I was also like looking into like doing like healthcare administration, but they do want some background in business. There are some people who were just science majors in college and they are working in something completely different in like business or something, but I think it's very hard. It's a little harder,
and also
than like getting a tech job.
You need like other like leadership positions or another, like you need some other experience, which we didn't. We were not very involved in our sorority, so like, you can't. We had nothing to go off of besides that we were a science major.
Yeah, and I think so. Now I have a job in Boston. I work at a hospital doing research, and I just honestly took that job because I didn't know what I was doing. I needed to make some money while I figure out my life.
And that's
And
normal.
it will help my resume. Yeah. A lot of people do take a year or two before they go back to grad school or they apply to med school. So like it is normal, and I have a little safety blanket because it looks like no one's really hammering me about, you know, what I'm doing, because it is normal. But I'm still trying to figure out if I want to, well, I know being a science major, you can't get anywhere without having upper education, obviously. So I'm obviously going to go to grad school. I just need a little more time to figure out what programs I want to apply to. And I'm just using this year or two to figure that out.
Yeah, not the opposite route. Like, by senior year, I knew that I was going to take a year off. I knew I want to go to grad school. Like, that's the ultimate end goal, but I didn't know if it's med school or get my PhD. But I was planning to take a year off because I just had no clue what I was doing. And then my last semester of college, I had an internship. And I remember crying to literally everyone. I FaceTime everyone saying that I hated my internship. Like, I love the place, but just the idea of working 9 to 5 every day for the next 40 years, like, it scared.
Ashley, get used to it.
I mean,
this
yeah,
is life.
it scared the crap out of me. Okay, like, I didn't want that job. I didn't want to do that. I just thought. My attention span's really small. Like, I don't like doing the same things over and over again. So I knew I was going to go to grad school, but because I didn't want to work that 9 to 5 job, but I didn't know how to get there. And so I literally just took a leap of faith and applied to this program here in Georgetown, and I got in. I honestly have no clue why I got in. Like, my qualifications aren't there, and like, I was a mediocre student. I guess my letters are wreck, and like, my resume wasn't that terrible, but so I took the different route. Instead of going to work like Kristen, I went straight into grad school. So I'm getting my master's, and I love my program, but in reality, I'm just doing it to buy myself time.
Yeah, we're both just buying ourselves time. So I don't want to go to grad school yet, and she doesn't want to work yet, so we're swapping.
Yeah. But like, grad school is also really expensive. Like, as well as buying time, I'm building up my debt, which is really helpful.
Yeah, that's also another thing. I kind of want to get my master's, but it's so expensive, and you know, getting your PhD, they pay for it, so that's like,
that is
like,
a plus.
My dad really wants me to get my PhD. If I can't be a doctor of medicine, he wants me to be a doctor of philosophy, so he's really pushing me to get my PhD, which is kind of stressful because,
and it's like, I'm not saying a PhD is easier. Like, it's just as hard, obviously, but they do pay for most programs. They do pay for you, so that's
because you
thing
getting your PhD, you work for the professor, so that's why you get paid. Basically, you get a salary or like a stipend.
But going into research is very tricky because, like, if you're not getting any funding from the government, like, you don't have a job, basically. Like, you have to write what? Like, I know Kristen would complain to me saying that she needed to help her PI, like, write what? Like a proposal or something?
Yeah.
And, like...
Yeah, I had no idea how to do that. Yeah, that's scary, especially because if you rely on funding, so...
If you haven't made your one big break yet, like, it's so hard to have a stable thing. Unless you go into teaching, which I guess teaching is a terrible thing. I can't teach. I was considering being a teacher at one point. Like, teaching college level.
Yeah. We should talk about, I guess, like, what we're doing now, post-grad.
Oh, I thought we talked about that.
We can delve more into, like, you know, because we both moved from away from home.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm from Connecticut, and I went to school in Connecticut.
In Connecticut.
Yes, well, that's Connecticut for you.
I hate driving through Connecticut.
Yeah, I don't like it here either, but I moved to Boston. So Boston is a huge hub for like biotech, healthcare. So I immediately knew I wanted to apply to jobs in Boston because it's such a big hub. Plus, it's a huge city, and so many young people live there. So I thought this is pre-pandemic, obviously. I thought it'd be really fun. Like, I could still have, like, you know, a nightlife and hang out with people.
Boston's just like the place to go, like, in New England, like, especially if you don't want to go to such a big city like New York. Like, Boston is like,
Boston's definitely.
I want to end up in Boston for my like early 20s, like in my 20s. I like to live in Boston at some point.
Yeah, because I think New York City for me is way too fast paced and way too much. And I think Boston's a good like level for
Kristen
me.
was
It's
with
like
me the first time I ever taken the train. We went to New York City together with
oh,
also
that was
another.
the first
That
time.
was the first time.
Okay, that's not even.
That's
That's
the
like
first time by myself. Like I've always had
the
like,
train is bougie though. It's not like the subway.
I mean, I suppose, but that was my first time taking the train anywhere without like my parents or like my brother.
Yeah, we're really adulting here. I took the subway in Boston. Well, I took it a couple times when I went to interview, but I took it for the first time like since I moved to Boston, which has been like 2 months, and I finally took it by myself very recently.
Oh,
and I was texting.
Texted me. Okay, well you lied because first you said like, oh, I'm going on like I don't know, say it was like a Friday
I
or
didn't
something.
lie.
Okay, whatever. And so I would text, like, I text you, I'm like, oh, how was your first time, like, going on the subway or the train or whatever? And you were like, oh, I didn't go. We're going tomorrow. And I'm like, you liar. And then the next day you're like,
I was
we were busy. We didn't actually go. Like, we're going again tomorrow. And I'm like, okay. And then she finally did. She's like, oh, that's
okay.
so
Well,
easy.
I was just stressed. It's very easy. I've been on the subway before in Boston, but I haven't been by my apartment. So I was just delayed because I don't like, especially with COVID going on, we're not really going anywhere. So I just go to work. I walk to work. So taking the subway is really kind of out of the way. And then I had one place I had to go to, and I was like, oh, I'm taking the subway, Ashley. I'm taking it for the first time. I missed that, like, since I moved here, like, I'm doing it. And we kept delaying it, and she kept texting me. I'm like, oh, I haven't gone yet. And she just thought that I was chickening out, which I wasn't. Okay, no. But yeah, we were doing big girl things. Which it's so easy. Like anyone listening would probably be like, why are you guys stressed about taking the subway?
But also, I feel like, Kristen, you've lived by yourself in a sense before. The junior year, you lived off campus. So Kristen knows the life of like not
being an adult, kind of.
Not relying on a meal plan, like paying your bills. Like she got that part. I am so sheltered. I don't know any of that at all. So I just moved down to DC, and it's not the first time I lived by myself because, I mean, kind of. So the first time was my last semester of college, and like I said, I had my internship. However, I lived in like a hotel, like an extended stay. So I feel like that doesn't really count because it was just like basically a tiny hotel room, and like I had a little like kitchenette, so whatever.
And you had like room service, like cleaning ladies come in.
I had room service. I had cleaning service come in once a week, and I didn't have to worry about like utilities because it all came together. So that wasn't really a real experience. So now here, like finding a place to live, finding roommates. I remember Kristen was like, I don't want to live with someone creepy. Like, I don't want to go on Craigslist, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, oh, it's not that bad. And like, here I was literally 2 months later. I'm like, oh crap. Like, you're right. Like, this is actually really scary. Like moving to a new city by yourself. And I've been here for maybe like 3 weeks. I still haven't taken like the little like even like the little buses to go like down the street.
Yeah.
Like, I haven't. Today I walked the 1.5 miles down to TJ Maxx because I didn't. Mm-hmm. I still don't know how to use the bus, let alone the subway. Like I literally because
we're not from the city. We're not used to taking buses and like subways. So if I could, I'll just walk. I honestly
I always walk.
It's just kind of, I don't know. Well, where I live, it's kind of out of the way to take the subway, but also I was kind of like just avoiding taking the subway just because I didn't want to.
Like, I'm in that awkward spot. Like, I have some, like, the monuments, for example. Like, it's only, like, 2.5 miles away. So if I want to go see it, like, it's not that far. Like, if I really wanted to be ambitious, I could run or I could walk there. But also, like, I might as well just take the bus. But I'm just too scared to take the bus. So, yeah. It took Kristen, 2 months to take the train by yourself?
Okay, yes.
So
but
I'm giving myself, 2 months before I take the bus.
We are living through a pandemic. Okay, I think we should talk about how we're surviving post-grad in a pandemic, because it's, in general...
Skinny. That's what is
That's
happening.
not true. Well, no, I don't think that's true on me. We'll see. But I think, in general, if it wasn't the pandemic, living on your own post-grad is very hard for a lot of people because it's the first time you're on your own. Like, you're not with your college friends, you're in a new city, you're in a new job. So I feel like because it's also during a pandemic, we can't go out and meet people, like, plans are ruined. People who were gonna move didn't move, and people were moving out of the city, like things like that. So I think we should talk about
all my
that.
classes went online. So I didn't tell my parents that my classes went online, and I told them that I still had lab in person. So that was the only reason why I moved down to DC. Ironically, my dad literally asked me today, like, oh, like, if classes are online, like, you should come home. And I'm like, I still have lab, but I am considering moving back home just because, like, the money situation. And why am I going to pay rent down here when I could just do it at home where I'm not paying rent?
Yeah.
And I have a home cooked meal every day. And, like, the reason why I say we're getting skinny is just because we don't know how to cook. So, like, that's the only reason.
I literally, every day, I'm like, Ashley, I literally have chicken, rice, and broccoli every single day. It's because I don't know how to cook.
I lost, I think, like, 10 pounds when I went to my internship because I didn't know how to cook. I ate, like, a salad and the same thing with chicken and rice every day.
I lost so much weight, like, senior year of college because... Like, I never got swiped in dining hall. Like, Ashley would swipe me in once a week. Once a week she would swipe me into the dining hall and we get pasta bar. That was really good. But yeah, I mean, cooking on my own, I hate it. Especially being a college student. I had no money. I worked part-time, so I paid rent. Like, I had no money. So I'm a very frugal person, especially my Asian mother really rubs off. I get that from her. So I didn't really want to spend money. Yeah, you're the opposite. But in college, you didn't have to really pay for groceries because you had...
in the dorm. I had it easy because if I was ever hungry, I would just, like, walk down the stairs and, like, got food. Yeah. But, like, Kristen we had Friendsgiving together, and I remember I was like, wow, Kristen's such a chef. Like, look at her sauteing those string beans. Like that was
that's what you
could do because I remember we had to split up the money. We were like, oh, who's buying this? Like, it was a very It was, I don't want to say bland, like, it was a great Friendsgiving, but it wasn't the Thanksgiving that, like, your family has, obviously.
Well, yeah, we had, like, pre-mashed potatoes because I was not about to mash potatoes by myself. Like, I don't know how to do that. I feel like it's very opposite. Like, I feel like a lot of young girls, like, oh, we're gonna make, like, vegan this, vegan that, like, gluten-free this, and, like,
no. We don't have time for these restrictions.
I am just lazy, and I feel like I'm very cheap, and, you know, I will be fine with rice. I'll be fine with ramen. Like, that's all I eat.
And I can't deal with that. Like, at home, like, my mom cooks, like, chicken wings or egg rolls or, like, something so fatty and, like, not good for you, but she cooks that, like, every night. So I'm used to having that home-cooked meal. And I would, like, not judge, but I'm like, oh, how could people just eat that, like, microwavable, like, food? Like, what do you mean? And now here I am, like...
Now you know.
Doing that.
I've been, like, in college, I would just eat cup noodles. I would just eat, like, mac and cheese. And it was not good for you. I never really had protein because I never liked buying meat. So, but, like, obviously, like, now I'm trying to get better at, like, having protein, having, you know, vegetables. And I'm still very bad at it. I literally only have chicken or salmon and then rice or, like, ramen.
I literally ask her all the time. I'm like, do I starve or do I cook?
I'm like, starve. No, don't do that.
Don't do that, but that's literally what we ask each other. We're like, should we go grocery shopping or should we save the money? Like,
for me, you're always like, oh, I have all these things. Like, I went grocery shopping twice this week. I'm like, girl, I refuse to go grocery shopping. I will try and go every other week, but that's, like, not possible. It's really not possible because I run out of food. But I try because I'm so, like, I want to save my money. I have other things. I want to buy clothes instead of food. So.
And also, the hard thing about grocery shopping, because we live in the city, like, you can't buy a lot of stuff because you have to carry that food home. And that hit me
2 bags.
So
it's
hard.
just 2 bags.
I think it was this week, right? I texted you. I was like, oh my God, I hope the Trader Joe guy, like, puts it all in, like, 1 or 2 bags because there's no way that I'd be able to carry everything. Like, when I was at my internship, I had my car. So, like, in Virginia, it was kind of like where we live, very, like, suburban place. Like, you drive everywhere. So you could fill up your car, whatever you want. But now in the city, you got your right hand and your left hand, and that's it.
Yep. I also want to talk about how, like, at least for me, like, yeah, I have a job and everything, but I feel like I'm still like not an adult. I feel like it's because like I still have room. Boston is so expensive that I have to have a bunch of roommates in order to afford to live here. So I have like roommates. They're all like
paying,
my
like,
age.
dirt. Like, my rent is not that, it's cheap compared to average DC, but like, if you see my room, like Kristen like laughed. She was like, "Are you like that's your room?" It's literally like
It's really small.
It's smaller than a dorm room. But at this point, I'm like, I'm fine with it, just because like rent is expensive in the city.
Yeah. Yep. It's so expensive. Like my apartment complex is a very old building. My room is pretty big, but like in general, it's like a really, really old complex. So
And finding
it was like
roommates is scary. Because the
yeah.
last time
Yeah,
we've ever had to live with random people were freshman year of college. And like
yeah.
we kind of like at that point you luck out, like you find your friends and then you live with your friends. And here we are again trying to find random people.
Yeah. It's hard, especially because like, well, one, the pandemic, so not many people are moving, but also because many people have their own, like they're going different ways. Like you went to DC and I went to Boston, so like obviously like we had to like find people to live with.
It's so hard.
It's hard, but I think it's fine as of right now.
I mean,
but you're like moving.
Yeah, like you have technology. Like we text literally all the time, every time. It's like it didn't seem that hard because we have technology. But
Yeah.
I think what makes it also better is that we're going through it together. Like when I was at my internship, like when I tell you I hated that internship, like you don't understand. Just because I had the biggest case of FOMO. Like all my friends,
felt so bad.
all my friends, like they were in their last semester of college. They're going out, they're having fun. I'm like, I'm here working an unpaid internship, like 10 hours away from my best friends. And then like I had an awful like boy experience. Like it just like snowballed. And I'm not like, obviously the pandemic is awful, but I was so happy the day that my parents pulled me out and they're like, you're not working in a hospital. They're doing like COVID testing. And then the same day the hospital kicked me out, they're like, oh yeah, like internships aren't not important, but like we need all the supplies.
But like your safety.
Yeah, they're like, we don't want you using the gloves, and like, there's just a shortage of material. So they sent all the internships home, and I was so happy. Like I didn't even see any of my friends, but just being only like an hour or two away from everyone was so much better. And we were going through it together. I'm like, no offense, I don't want to see your snap on Friday night of you going out to the bar that we always go to, and I'm just like crying with my. No, it's fine because I love hearing your stories, but I just wished I was there. So yeah, I think
it was sad.
Now it's easier because we're all in it.
Everyone's going
like,
through it.
Yeah, we're all in it together, like High School Musical.
Yeah, like everyone, like especially with the pandemic, like no one's going out, no one's really, dating in a way. So I feel like we both are going to situation.
Make friends? Like I'm in a new town. Like I'm in college technically. Like I should be still making friends. Kristen should be going to happy hour with her coworkers. No,
I wish.
We stick with our same like 5 friends that we met in college because now it's just so hard to meet new people.
It's really hard. It's really hard, especially with everything going on. I know a lot of people are like, you gotta put yourself out there, but it's really hard. It's harder than you think, and we're both really like introverted. I mean, when we're together, we're very outgoing. When we're with people we know, like we're very outgoing. But
people tell me to shut up all the time. Like I can't stop talking. But when we meet people,
when you're with new people, it's really hard for me to
like. We're also very intimidating. Apparently, like people tell us all the time.
We have our what is it called, our BF.
Yeah, like people tell us all the time. Like no offense, like I think it's great. They're like yeah, like Kristen was scarier than you. And I'm like oh thank you, like.
Okay, yeah. One of our friends was like, yeah, like you guys are both really scary looking, but Kristen looked a little bit scarier. And I'm like, okay, but it's just my fate. Like I don't know I'm doing it, but I think a lot of people can relate for that. But I think like with like making friends, like you really do have to put yourself. It's stupid to say, but you really have to like put yourself out there and like.
But you can't really look for like you can't force it. It's gonna happen when it happens. That's what I hated freshman year of college. Like I struggled so hard making friends, and then that's the only reason why I rushed. And it just so happened that thank God Kristen felt pity for me and answered my text. But like that was honestly it just happened.
Yeah. I think, yeah, like putting yourself out there is really hard, especially like freshman year too. I think I just got lucky because well, freshman year like everyone's looking for friends, so it's kind of like okay, like I shouldn't feel bad about like like pushing myself out there because everyone wants friends freshman
Well,
year. Like
I
no
was
one else
also
knows each
an
other.
idiot. Like, well, my RA told us don't keep the doors propped open, but she meant the outside doors. We, as the dumb like freshmen that we are, we thought she meant don't have your door open. So I suggest to any like college freshman always keep your door open, and so people will
Yeah,
pop their head in and say hi. And so that's why my floor we were not friends at all because no one interacted because we misinterpreted what our RA was saying.
that's so sad. Yeah, I think the first, especially the first couple of weeks, are very crucial to
But it's also
meeting
very
people.
dangerous if you
Yeah,
have like don't go crazy. Like just because you have all that freedom doesn't mean you should go wild.
yeah,
Because a kid passed away our first weekend of college.
yeah. That was not good.
My parents were so terrified. They're like, "What are you doing right now? Like, are you in your room? Are you locked up? Like,
Yeah,
it's really scary."
yeah. Definitely be safe when you're Christian. But I think going back to like a post grad, like meeting friends, like
I feel
talk
like
like
a
if you
college
have
freshman all over again.
yeah, same. Like being like for example, like I moved into an apartment with like 3 other girls who I'd never met before. So I think like if people are if they ask you to hang out, like if even if you don't want to, like I think like okay, like I will just hang out one time and see how it goes because I think if you just shut yourself and just hide in your room all day, all night,
Leave right
and
now.
yeah, that's what I really like because I'm like a homebody. I really like I like going out, but most of the time I love staying in my room and like
I feel like
watching Netflix.
I'm usually the one that's dragging her out. Like my last semester of college, that was like our prime, well, my prime at least. And Kristen's always like, yeah, we'll go out.
Because
And then like
I'm
I
an
go to
old
her apartment.
woman.
She's like, do you really want to? Like, do you want to stay in? I'm like, no, we're going out. And like I would convince her roommate, and then her roommate would just like, yeah, guys, let's go. So I am not like I'm not a homebody. Like I get so bored at home.
Yeah, I mean,
But we
yeah,
have
I
different
think
mentalities because you still had an extra semester. Like this was my last semester of college. So
yeah,
I think that was the only reason why like we went out every single weekend. Like I have a picture to document every single weekend. And
yeah.
it was because it was my last semester and that was the only reason. And I also didn't really go out like freshman year. Like I didn't have my party year at all until
Yeah,
my last semester, but Kristen was already doing that
yeah.
and
I
she was
think
just
I want to.
over it in a sense.
Yeah, I was definitely over it, especially when you are going out like for the first 2 3 years of your college, time
Well,
there.
we
So I
didn't
think
really
by
go
senior
out
year, I was
junior year.
I think that's where the decline went. Like junior year really like went downhill with
Honestly,
like going
once you
out.
turn 21 and you go to the bar a few times, you're like, oh, that's it. And so, like, I think
That
the
okay, that's
novelty of it kind of went away.
oh I don't know if that's the same for everyone because I think because we never really went out before being like 20 after like junior year we never really went out
Yeah.
and then for a while and then when we turned 21 I was like okay and then we stopped again so I think senior year like I was so like used to not going out and then you were like pushing me out I'm like okay like then it got fun obviously but like when I say like oh I'm a homebody I don't like going I'd rather stay in my room like I do like going out and like going to the bar and like having fun and seeing my friends but like obviously there are nights where like I really don't want to see anyone and I just want to lay in my bed and
Yeah,
it's hard for me to like
I'm the opposite. I always need someone with me.
yeah I mean I just think that it's hard for me when like everyone's hanging out in the common room I'm like oh my god I should go socialize but I'm like oh I'm really not feeling that because I'm so like I want to be in my room so yeah I definitely think like like making yourself available and making yourself like open to anything will
And that
really
like
help.
goes back to how I feel like, yeah, like I didn't go out when we first started our sorority, like I didn't really go out the first 2 weeks with everyone. So I didn't make myself available. Therefore, no one would text me individually like, "Oh, do you want to hang out?" Because I like didn't know who I
Yeah,
was, obviously, because I
yeah,
never went out with them.
yeah,
And then until Kristen did, and then now look at us now. But you do have to put in the effort when everyone is fresh and new. Like that's the best time.
yeah,
But don't force it, obviously. Like don't pretend to
yeah.
be
Don't
someone that
force
you're
it.
not.
Yeah, but definitely like be yourself because people can sense when you're being fake. So yeah, it's definitely hard.
The first like month or so in college, like you don't want to be fake. Like people can drop you left and right until you find your real friends.
Yeah. Okay, I think that's all the time we have for episode 1, but thank you guys so much for listening. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that wasn't that bad at all. We were actually really nervous, but we were able to talk about a lot of great topics such as like college majors, making friends, moving out.
Yeah, if you like this episode, we will be talking a lot about college life and just adulting in general. Also, if you guys want to follow our Instagram, it's just at Send Noods Podcast.
Make sure you definitely follow that. We're going to have a lot of great content coming out for you guys. And again, thank you for listening. We'll talk to you guys later. And don't forget to send nudes.